23 and 24. It's only receiving the ones.
But if this were on stereo mix, do you think it'd still catch us?
Try it. Yeah, it might.
All right, we just did it to stereo.
So unplug our mics and then Kaylee's mic. Or mute them or something.
Stereo.
Kaylee, say something.
Hello. We're testing
I
it
think you got it.
in stereo. Not coming out now. It's not coming out now.
No, I mean it's not hitting. Say it again, Kaylee.
Keith said good on Kaylee.
Good on Kaylee.
Can we get one more confirmation?
One more confirmation, please.
Unplug those in and try it. Maybe it just reads the stereo mix.
Kath says good.
Okay.
There you go.
All
Start
right.
over.
We're back on track.
Oh, we don't have to start over.
I'm gonna.
John's got to pee.
All right, I'll do a recap.
Sorry for the delay, folks.
Well, this is why we didn't go live to the world yet.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the people that we did send it to sent it to other people, but I'm hoping not. That's okay if they did. They got a nice little tutorial. All right, yeah, this looks good. Cool. So I'm just gonna help recap. John's using the restroom real quick. It's still a little warm in here, but it is cooling down without the fans.
Mm-hmm.
We figured out all the mic stuff. Hopefully, we'll see. Let us know in the comments, and folks, hit the subscribe button. Anyways, we were talking about the potentials. This idea of these heroes, people, characters who have these potentially great powers, but they don't really utilize them.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a really quick recap. First idea was Rock Boy, always got rocks in his pockets and is extremely accurate with them. So then, you start to think, well, what is the, like, what else? Why does he always have rocks in his pockets? That's kind of mystical. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he so accurate with them? And John and I were talking earlier, and there's kind of like maybe like this Splinter character, or like, getting these people with these potentially like really, and then we went further to, I think the next character was Psoriasis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Soraya,
Yeah.
right? So Soraya is Rock Boy's sister.
Okay.
And her character, Soraya, my thought was she, like, as soon as she's hit with something, it scars like terribly, but it's hardened by whatever the
Like a
to the
callus.
impact of what it is. Yeah. And it's like morphed to the impact. So when she was a kid, she like jumped into a fire.
Mm.
And like is now impervious to fire, things like that. Or maybe she does that in the story or something like that. But
Her skin
so-
becomes like a shield kind of thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So-
Whatever she experiences, she builds up a sort of immunity to it.
yeah, and the immunity is on level 2, whatever the impact of that damage is. You know what I mean? So so that was the idea. And that's kind of the idea of psoriasis. Like,
Mhm.
we know a couple people who have it, so it's like this overbuilding of cells. The cells are trying too hard and making too much, I think, like in layman's terms, so this is kind of the same thing. It may be this like hideous, maybe it's like, but maybe it's not hideous, maybe it's like cool, it like turns to some kind of, I don't know, pretty looking adamantium or like diamond or
Or a
something like
tattoo.
that. A tattoo would be cool.
Becomes like maybe a tattoo about whatever the experience was, some sort of
Whoa, that'd be
depiction
cool.
of.
That's neat. That's
That'd be
neat.
cool.
I like that. The thought on her like turning to like some kind of diamond, I kind of like, only because she's the sister of Rock Boy.
Mm.
And like, what if like eventually, like, we were thinking like if Rock Boy actually is not like, it's not that he's like super accurate with the rocks, he actually has like telekinetic power over like rocks, and then maybe even further over minerals.
Mm.
Maybe and then maybe he is some kind of, and the idea too is these people are pretty simple to their powers or their abilities or whatever else. So he's like, I don't know, I just always have a rock in my pocket kind of thing. Has a hat like John, you know what I mean? And
Oh, man.
just kind of like more simple. And his sister is like, but there's also like this idea that in the future he could like levitate his sister because she's made of stone, maybe. Like there's so like So that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. Was there another one that you came up with, like a mime called Pane? Was that what you were thinking? The French
I
mime?
think you came up with the mime one, but then it was like whatever they mimed, like they could make or something.
They could make anything they'd mime. So
That's
like
pretty cool.
they could make, like, you know, but they were like a really bad mime.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And they were actually, I think our idea was like, and that the name for that was Pane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, stuff like that. I think that's but then John came up with one,
Oh yeah, that was good. The hover.
Hoverman.
Yeah, I thought that it'd be really, you know, I don't know why that popped into my head as soon as you told me the idea.
Yeah, yep.
But the thought of maybe someone who could technically fly but could only fly 1 inch off the ground. And I think that immediately where my brain went when you kind of told me this idea, and I kind of talked to you a little bit about it, was that you can create these characters with severe limitations to what their superpower would be. And
Right.
I think that as a writer, it would be very it would be something you'd have to dig really deep for in order to find how these if you want to call them heroes, or how these main characters could prevail with their extremely limited powers.
Yeah.
Right. And I found like that immediately was what I thought about, and it kind of like tickled my belly a little bit. Like you know, you'd have to create these scenarios where someone who could only throw rocks, or someone who was calloused by their experiences, or someone who could only hover 1 inch off of the ground could save the day potentially. Like, what are the scenarios that might be a thing?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I found that super, super exciting.
It's kind of underdog to it, especially at least in the beginning, like of the whole, if
Yeah.
it were to be a big series, you know,
Yeah. But
like
it's like a testing of your own creative thinking.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Forces you to be a little bit outside the box when you
Right.
create these stories for these characters. But
Right.
yeah, my idea was or my thought that just popped into my head. I don't know if I call it an idea. It literally was like within a couple seconds, was someone who could hover about 1 inch off the ground. And that's it. They could fly essentially 1 inch off the ground. And I don't know.
That's
I
good.
found that there were really funny things. Definitely never stubbed his toe.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
or her toe. I don't know. What did I call him? Hoverman or something?
Well, Hoverman was it, but like you could come up with like
yeah, that
a
was
fun name, you know, a fun pun to
not
it.
a very
like,
thought out name. Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but
What was the name of Marty McFly's hoverboard?
the pink one.
Did he have a name for it, or was there a brand on it? Or
There probably was a brand on it. That'd be a good idea.
if you wanted to like kind of like, you know, wear your inspiration on your sleeve. I mean, that's sort of what I thought about when I first thought about it.
Yeah. Well, the
maybe
cool
name
thing
after the
about that,
board.
yeah, that would be neat. The cool thing about that one too is, again, there's potential there. Like this person might have the power of absolute flight. They just either
Can't
haven't
get
looked
out,
into
yeah.
it, or have tried and can't unlock it. It'd be funny too if like they actually couldn't stop it. If they're just always
Yeah, they're just,
levitating.
like always floating.
Yeah, and they're just
And we thought about like, well, maybe they could like hover above water, and I thought like, oh, it'd be funnier if they couldn't,
yeah.
and they like could only hover like 1 inch above the ground underwater.
Yeah, like sea level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
It will not sea level, right? Like go down. Like that'd be
I just
really
imagine
funny.
the scene of like them like going for it, like having never tried to hover on the water,
Mhm.
and just going for it, and then like immediately going under the water, and then like out in the distance they pop up trying to like swim.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like,
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's just called the Mattel hoverboard.
Mattel.
Mattel?
That'd be a cool
Really?
name.
Made it, yeah.
So his name could be Mattel.
Mattel.
You know what I
There you
mean?
go.
Yeah. That's great. And yeah, so that's a great idea. Yeah, the
Our
idea.
first sponsor for our
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
Mattel.
exactly.
Thanks,
Mattel,
Mattel Toys,
thanks.
for creating hoverboard.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really cool idea. But yeah, the idea that he could potentially fly hasn't tapped into it, or she, whoever it is. I really like that idea. There was I couldn't remember whether there was another, but I mean, there's all kinds of things. Like I know X-Men has gone into that, like with the mutants. The idea that there are all of these, like some mutants that, like there was a mutant that shot rainbows out of his face,
Mhm.
and that was it. That was their only
Oh,
power.
are you thinking of guy who shoots polka dots?
There's someone like
I
that
think-
in the Spider-Man, in the Spider-Verse.
I think that's
somewhere in
what's the DC?
Mirror Master.
What's the DC equivalent to like Guardians of the
Man.
Galaxy? Like
To Guardians, to
yeah,
the
with
Guardians.
the shark.
Oh,
The
well-
polka dot guy.
Oh, you mean the Suicide Squad?
That's it.
Them? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a polka dot guy.
But also, you think of like not League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. What's the show that Brendan Fraser's in? The DC.
Oh, yeah. So
Because they're all like heroes that their sort of powers have like almost hindered them
Mhm.
from progressing, right?
well, like society, even that's kept like they're somewhat freaks of nature, if you
Freaks
will.
of nature
Yeah.
with
Like one
the-
lady
yeah.
turns into a blob
Yeah.
that's like disgusting looking, but
Right.
it's extremely effective in defense or offense against
Yeah.
an enemy.
But I like the idea of it just being something they can do. And it's spectacular in some ways, but not crazy.
Almost a
spectacular.
circus
Like
act.
they're not going to save the world. Yeah, almost like a magic trick.
Yeah,
Mm.
But
exactly.
like, they're not. It's just like, I can do this. And I don't know if it's going to benefit me in any way, but
Yeah.
then to be able to create stories where it does is interesting.
Yeah. I think we did think of like Sally Squats being one, being a potential, like Kaylee
Yeah.
turns in, because we did start a comic, about Sally Squats, Kaylee's clown persona, for those who don't know.
Mhm.
You want to give a quick pitch for your clown for Sally?
Sally doesn't need a pitch.
Okay.
She sells
Um,
herself.
But like the idea that like this Jekyll and Hyde thing, like you turn into this nutty kind of Harley Quinn type clown, but like what are the clown's powers? Well, it's just the fact that you can turn into it quickly,
Mm,
and that's it. And it's like, where do the clothes come from? You're like, I don't know.
mm.
And it's like you're turning into something completely different. Like, maybe
Yeah.
the eyes are huge, and it's like you don't look like human.
Mm.
What are you turning into? Just a clown. I can just turn into a clown. What do you do with that power? Go to parties,
Yeah.
work the circus, work with Ringling Brothers for a while, and
Yeah.
there's but who knows? Maybe this clown is some kind of like god of chaos or something,
Mhm.
like the reason that this other side. So I don't know. It's kind of a fun thing.
Mm.
I just thought of another one. What if there was someone that was like they become like magnetic at some point, but like just for like trash and stuff. So
Okay.
like they're kind of like always recycling because they walk down the street and there's like a can and it just like sticks to them, and
Oh,
so
okay.
they're like constantly picking up trash.
Like for some reason, trash just like attracts to them.
Yeah,
Like
but,
used
like,
items or
the can would
something?
be like stuck to their leg when they're walking, kind of like a magnet or
Yeah.
something like
Well, there is
that.
Magneto from X-Men who controls.
But
But
I
if
think
it was
it,
just trash, like they're
that
always just picking up.
Yeah,
trash.
yeah,
it would
is
be
good
funny.
for Earth.
Yeah.
I think it would be funny if it was like Magneto, but only if it was like a very short distance away from them.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
You
Yeah,
like
like the spoon people that can
like
put
a
spoons
fork.
on
They could never get a fork out of their hand.
Mhm.
Yeah,
there.
like just trying to figure out like how do I put down this fork?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's pretty cool. Well, yeah. So you could go all kinds of ways. You can get really simple stuff like call someone static, and all they can really do is like a really like small static, like, zzz, and that's it. There was a friend of ours brought up the other day. Remember that show that was like real life hero, like superheroes, like superhuman people? What was the name of it? Who was it that ran it? Like,
do you mean like that crew in Seattle that ran around? They were dressed up like superheroes.
oh
and they were
no,
trying to-
no.
Oh.
This was like a reality TV show where they would go to these people who had superhuman abilities,
Yeah.
and they were pretty fantastic. There was one kid, our friend was talking about the other night, and I remember this episode where he could go like, and he had echolocation. He was blind,
Really?
and he had superhumans. Yeah. Quite simply put. Who was it on there?
Oh, Cal Penn? No.
No. Well, those are
Wait. This is not Stanley.
Stan Lee. Yep,
Was it?
that's it. Yeah,
Oh,
Stan
okay.
Lee was the host of the show.
Stanley and Daniel
Really?
Browning Smith.
Yeah.
Travel the world looking for humans that have powers like heroes from comic books.
Huh.
Yeah.
So he could click and he could hear how close he was to a wall.
Yeah, and kind of visualize his surroundings. There was some pretty impressive stuff. Like he rode a bike around his town, and he was just like,
Really?
yeah, he was amazing. Yeah, and he of course had memory down, but his memory too. The more impressive thing they found was his memory to the clicks. So like he could click and know in this many steps because of that, like that memory of visualization or whatever of that echolocation, where that wall is even. To where he's
someone like
walking.
that would be like a very good like forensic like police officer or something. Someone who like was like, oh, there's bodies hidden.
That's
like,
interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they could find it like
yeah.
And they could find where there was a hole in the ground.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or where the ground was dug up as opposed to where it wasn't. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, there's like an interesting sensitivity they have to the resonation of sound, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
There's another guy that was impressive, but I didn't see it being like a superhero power, where he he belly flopped from 80 feet high into a little kiddie pool. It was insane. Just like from wicked high up, he would no, he wouldn't. It wasn't even a belly flop. He would dive.
What?
He could dive into like a 3-foot kiddie pool from like 80 feet up
and not mangle himself.
He was fine. And he even had like kind of a belly. It wasn't like the most, he looked healthy, but he didn't look like model fit. It's like in his 40s or 50s, and he would just jump and just land in it. And the way he did it, he had like a certain way and just knew exactly how to move last second. And like all the water like splashed out of the kiddie pool.
How do you
But
practice that stuff? And like,
what you start soft, like from like 2 feet up, 3 feet up, work on 10 feet up for a month.
So this is
Who
something
knows?
he trained to do.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think, unless he like fell into a pond one day. And
Well, no,
off a road,
there's
like-
something to be said for people that just kind of get things.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people who just are insanely accurate, or there's some people just kind of like get things. They would understand that subconsciously, if they were to dive from this high up into a little tiny pool, their brain knows what to do and they just do it.
And there are probably more people than just them who
Yeah.
have that talent. They just haven't, fallen off of a
that would be a good one.
10 foot
Just know what
ladder
to
into
do,
a kiddie
man.
pool. Yeah, just know what to do. Well, that's kind of that's pretty close. That's pretty close to that Deadpool character and Marvel character, like Lucky.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Where she is a good
she's
fighter and all
lucky,
of this,
right?
but she's just so lucky. She always wins any situation.
Yeah.
You can't beat luck. You know what I mean? It just happens. I don't think
Yeah.
she like falters at any point in the movie. She always is
Yeah.
fine. How she falls, everything. It's just lucky, and it might even look clumsy, but it just works. Like that's pretty genius power. But still, with the potentials, if we keep them like really simple and like you said, like kind of comical, if this guy is like going into the beach and they're like he's gonna save all those people, but he ends up just like going under, and he's like it's not working, and they're like, well, can you still like see them? And he's like, oh yeah, I guess I can.
Yeah.
Like so he does
Right,
something like
yeah,
that.
you
Yeah,
have to find clever ways for them to save the day,
Right,
if you
right.
will. But
maybe like lava. If like there was like a volcano in the town or something random, and he was able to like go over the lava, like levitate over the lava, and help people, something like that. Maybe even like on that, like for all these characters we lead up to, that like the issue starts out with them using their power really, like in the most these basic forms, circuses or throwing rocks at bad guys or something like that, or just at people, and then saving the day. But then like when they save the day, their power actually comes out in a bit more fuller force, like at the end of that savior, of that suffering and really trying, like let's say the flotation guy, he's like my feet are burning, and he's like carrying two babies like from the lava, and he's just like, I'm not gonna make it, I have too far. And then out of nowhere he just like and he just like flies, like, you know what I mean? Like actually flies, has no idea how he
like
did
it's
it.
some sort of something that has to be unlocked.
Like you said, like it's this last second trigger, you know what I mean? Like last minute survival.
I feel like
thing.
though, like that's a big X-Men thing. I feel like that's something that like
It is, yeah.
it was sort
Well,
of
it's a
like,
reveal of someone's, you know, superhuman power.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah,
But if each person has that, I mean, that's just like a fun idea too that I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because our idea is also like if we keep them really simple, and maybe there's this guy that's like, I don't know, and then you also have to start thinking like, well, how do you connect all of these people?
yeah.
Or are they just separate stories? Are they always just separate? Yeah, right. You know,
Like they're not some sort of conglomerate.
yeah,
of
they're just in the
superheroes.
same
They're just, like,
universe.
just random stories.
Mm.
You could do it a little more like like an unsolved mysteries,
That's cool. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Of like these
Yeah.
random events that happened all over the world of
Mhm.
these random people, and you know, you can show parts of like this dude's not really on the ground, but he's walking around, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
that. Where
yeah.
I like that idea. There's so many. I feel like there's so many squads. There's so many conglomerates.
Yeah,
of
right.
superheroes together. It'd be cool if they were just like these random things that happen. It was treated a bit more like that.
What if also, yeah, so what if you did that? You did like issue by issue of the different, and it's in the, and assume it's, and we could say like, okay, like, yeah, this will be in the same universe, totally separate though, different parts of the world, or and you know, Soraya maybe and Rockboy are, you know, maybe their stories connect because they're brother sister, whatever, but otherwise, like, and then maybe like it takes forever, like maybe like the last issue of the whole series is when they get together,
Mm.
and then maybe like they all die immediately or something, you know what I mean? Like maybe like whatever they're up against is just like, they're like, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
And they're like, stop it, like with your powers combined and teamwork you can do it. And they're like, let's do this, and they try to be a squad or a, you know, this fantastic team or something like that, and then they just fail terribly, and the earth is just annihilated like at the very end of it, you know. They're like, what did you want from us? We're not like, I'm not like, we're not superheroes, we're not like Supermen.
Mm.
Or you go the other way, you can like really start to develop the characters, maybe they do start to hone their abilities or things, and they become these cool, really cool, you know, kind of superhero characters. I don't know.
Mm.
Lots of different directions you can go, lots of different ideas,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. It's pretty limitless, right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. But like you said, it's not without its kind of fun exercise of like, okay, how am I gonna, you know, like utilize these limitations
Yeah.
to make it interesting and kind of fun. But they are kind of cool, you know, powers. They are kind of neat. And there's mystery to them. Like you said, like this unsolved mystery. That's really a neat idea.
Mm.
Yeah, that is cool.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
like the idea of them just being like sightings.
That's cool.
Short little, you know, like if it were a comic, it would be like 3 or 4 pages of this quick story of just a sighting of this really bizarre person who had
Like a
these
Bigfoot sighting,
innate
kind of?
abilities to do this very
Yeah.
bizarre thing, and
Yeah.
their story gets told very quickly, and then they disappear. Nobody knows who they are or where they came from or whatever.
Mm.
I don't know.
Like-
that sounds really cool. That sounds like something
Meta
that-
being sightings or something like
It
that.
sounds like something
superhuman
that
sightings.
hasn't been done before.
That's cool. Superhuman sightings. Yeah, like except for Bat Boy, right? Like remember Bat Boy in the tabloids?
Bat boy.
You'd see there was like this
No.
Bat Boy that was raised in a cave, and there was tons of tabloids.
No, I don't know.
You'd see it in like the quick things that you pick out, and it was like this terrible
Are you
Photoshop.
talking for real? Or you're
Yeah,
talking-
real. Like they thought they had
Is it
a lot of
kinda like
people
the-
believe that there was this Bat Boy that emerged from this cave that was half bat, half boy.
Kind of like the whole.
It was like Bigfoot, basically.
Mogwai, like
It was kind of like that, I think. I can't quite remember it. It was a scary picture because it was photo. I remember being a kid and being scared when I looked at the newspaper because
Oh yeah, he's scary.
yeah,
that's not real.
yeah, exactly. It's not real. But it was just a silly. Oh, sorry, kidding. It was just like this silly tabloid.
Yeah.
But it was like a Bigfoot sighting or like that. But like this metahuman thing, like this metahuman sighting or superhuman sighting, or just tales of these superhuman sightings. That'd be really neat, especially like I imagine Rock Boy being like from the South,
Mm.
some kid with overalls, and
Mm.
like some girls getting like beat up, or vice versa, some boys getting beat up. And this because Rock Boy could also be Rock Girl, although he's got his sister Soraya, who's pretty badass. So, but still, like, let's say Soraya's getting beat up, and Rock Boy just takes some heads off. Like he pulls out these rocks, something like that. Yeah.
How
I
big
had
are the
this.
rocks.
What's that?
How big are the rocks?
I was thinking there, any size he wants, like almost perfect size for throwing. You know what I mean? If he wants to skip a rock, he can just pull out a flat rock. And maybe but then I started thinking maybe he can then start to change the type of rock. Like he can pull out like any rock, something like that. What was the idea? His heart was an emerald. When he went to the doctors or someone went to inspect him, they're like, "Oh my, what the heck is this?" It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when they go to check his heart, it's not beating at all. So I was thinking maybe he's some kind of, I'm a huge fan of Swamp Thing. So maybe this kid is some kind of avatar of minerals. You know what I mean? Instead of the green or the gray or the red, of rock. You know what I mean? He just he's like Magneto, but with and what are minerals made of? Everything.
Yeah, right.
Everything is made of minerals. So if he could hone that in the universe, if he can hone, who knows? Maybe he's this extremely godlike character, but he's just this kid from Oklahoma throwing rocks at kids trying to get them off his sister. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And when he's pushed really hard, he kind of maybe becomes this cool Magneto character, but otherwise he's just get the heck off her,
Mhm.
And Soraya's cool too.
I
maybe.
envision him with a straw hat and a
Yep. Yeah.
straw hanging out.
Yeah. I kind of, I imagine just a kid, a farming kid, and Soraya same, it'd be pretty cool actually if Soraya, if let's say she was stabbed by a knife, her arm becomes like a knife and just stabs that person, breaks off the knife and takes on whatever
Yeah.
gets her or if someone shoots her, she just
It's like
it comes out of her mouth and shoots
T-
back at them.
T2, right?
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Liquid Man, whatever. T1000, T2000, whatever it is.
What if someone just loads a huge machine gun on her and she pulls a mask thing, or she sucks in the bullets through her? You know what I mean? And remember that from The Mask, where he does that? Someone shoots him with a Tommy gun. For some reason, a Tommy gun was being used in the 90s, but it is a different world, I guess,
Yeah.
where masks make you come alive.
What do you guys think?
I think
We're close,
just
right?
About at the
Half hour
Yeah.
point, from
Maybe.
after that those mess ups and stuff. Well, thanks for hanging in to those who are listening.
Yeah.
Are people still on?
There's two. I don't know if I'm one of the watchers technically though.
Right. That's true.
Well,
Okay.
Whoever's out there, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
We will we'll figure out the audio issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to make sure. Oops, sorry again. I keep knocking that. I have to make sure too to set that back so that things work for other stuff. But yeah, thanks for joining. We'll be back next week, maybe next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, we're aiming for Tuesdays, but sometimes Wednesdays. So all right, thanks. You wanna lead us out, Kay?
Do the jingle again?
Yeah.
Hanging out just another night.
Hopefully
of
you
the
hear this.
week. Or to be more specific, it's a Tuesday Eve. Got some
Oh, you even said
ideas that
Tuesday.
just might
Oh, yeah,
intrigue.
Wednesday
You
Eve.
should come on by tonight. We're spilling the beans.
It'd be funny if you could sneak it in like it's a Tuesday or maybe Wednesday.
Yeah. To be more specific, it's a Tuesday or Wednesday Eve.
Or Wednesday, depending on our work schedule.
Cool.
Cool. Good idea. So you just need to figure out, like, if you want to keep it on the 24th, like, you have to figure out how to just get that thing to